everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. So let's address the elephant in the room. Yeah, I'm wearing a wig. My hair was not cooperating, it looked a mess, so I just tossed on a wig that was near me when I was putting on my makeup. This is supposed to be a Hermione wig, but I'm not really happy with how it looks, so I'm probably just gonna wear it for funsies and not for a specific character. Anyways, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about an anime that I recently watched, which is called Wonder Egg Priority. I really want to talk about this anime to raise awareness for what it's actually about and to start conversations about different mental health topics. So based on the poster, which should be on one of the sides of the screen, what does it look like to you? Does it look like 4 girls who are friends? Because that's what it looks like to me. And it's not that. I am an advocate for using trigger warnings on everything, and this is an anime that needs explicit trigger warnings before each episode, telling you what exactly is in each episode. The premise of the story is that there are 4 girls, and it focuses on this girl named Ai, and they are trying to save people that they know who've died from suicide by completing these missions. In this game that they're playing in order to bring these people back that they know who died, they go into this world where there is a girl or a trans man, because they were slightly transphobic in that episode. I'll talk about that in just one sec. So you go into the world and there's these girls and this trans man, and you have to defeat their trauma and like sort of defeat like why they killed themselves essentially. So as you can see, this is not a lighthearted fun show like the title suggests. I'm going to be looking to the side of the screen. I'm looking at a bunch of different lists that people have made so that I'm being 100% honest with you about the trigger warnings that are in the show. I want to make sure that I am not missing any of these trigger warnings. So bullying, blood, like gore, suicide, you see the body, you see how the people kill themselves. You have guilt, you have abuse done by a coach to a like student or athlete. There's some scenes where there's implying that there's a relationship between a student and teacher, although I'm a little bit iffy, it wasn't 100% concrete what was happening. There are some disturbing murders that aren't suicide. There's a lot of guilt. There is cutting, like you physically see the marks, you see the person sort of doing it and like contemplating doing it. Those are like the big ones. But there's almost like every practical trigger warning possible in the show. There's transphobia, there's fat phobia, there's guilt, there's disordered eating / eating disorders. There's like so many trigger warnings in the show, and I was not prepared for them at all. I was not aware of these trigger warnings. So please keep that in mind if you want to watch this show. There's a ton of trigger warnings. It is very heavy. There is some fun and happy moments, but the majority of it is fairly depressing. It is a fun concept. Really is. I wouldn't say it glorifies suicide, but I also wouldn't say that it is done in a manner that raises appropriate awareness for suicide. I mean, I guess like telling you why they did it could somewhat raise awareness, but I'm not really sure. So let's talk about the details of the show. So I mentioned that there was transphobia. Basically what happens is there is an episode where there is a trans male, and first of all, the creators grouped him in with the girls that kill themselves. So he isn't with the guys that killed himself, which doesn't sit right with me. It feels transphobic because it's lumping a trans male into the girl category when he is not a girl. But then there's also transphobia in the sense that that trans character, their trauma is transphobia. One of the 4 main characters is implied to be trans. They don't explicitly say it, but I really actually liked that. I wish that it would have been more concrete about saying, yes, she is trans, but everyone thinks that she is a boy, and she has some features that make her look more masculine, but she identifies as female and she wants to be seen as a girl, so I think that she's trans, but it wasn't 100% like confirmed. It was 100% set in stone that she was trans. So I really liked 3 of the 4 main characters. I wasn't a super huge fan of Rika because she was sort of like using people for their money, and I was like not the biggest fan of that. I didn't hate Rika, I just wasn't super fond of her. I really liked Ai. She is probably my favorite character. I feel like there's some good representation in the show in terms of LGBTQ+ characters. I haven't really seen many of those types of characters in animes before. This was a first for me, and I don't see trans characters enough in media in general, so I'm really glad that there was one explicitly trans character and one character that is implied to be trans in this show. I think that the animation, everything in this show is absolutely stunning. I loved every second of the visual parts of it. I focused a lot on the friendship and the visual parts of the show as opposed to focusing on the heavy topics, because I know that triggering things can cause my depression to relapse, and it did relapse a tiny bit after this show, but it wasn't too extremely bad. There's certain shows like Netflix shows, and I'm sure when I say Netflix shows suicide, there's one that comes to mind. So there's certain shows that are really popular that I purposefully avoid because I'm like, that's going to be too triggering. That's going to cause my depression to relapse. So I normally would avoid this type of show, but I think it actually shows that I've done a lot of improvement in therapy because I was able to watch the show and only have one night where my depression got pretty bad after. So like, I don't know if it's good to say I'm proud of myself for that, but it just shows that I made progress in therapy. Other things about this anime is that this is the first anime that I've watched that's had a recap episode. Normally the animes I watch don't have recap episodes. And it was weird because it's like a 13 episode long show, yet there is 1.5 episodes of recaps, which is a little bit frustrating because I felt like maybe they could have added more to the story instead of doing recap episodes, but unfortunately they didn't. So if you want to watch the show, you can skip episode 8 and you can skip through like the first half of episode 13 because those are recaps. I was a little bit disappointing in the final episode. It was good, it just felt underwhelming and not as much of like a wham fun season finale. We really need a season 2. I want more time with these amazing girls in the show, and also there's so many questions that I need to have answered about this show. If you post about this show online anywhere, please mark trigger warnings. Please let people know because it is not something to just lightly recommend it to a friend. Like, this isn't a show that you'd recommend to a friend that you know has depression. This is a show that you'd say, I liked this anime, but you need to understand here are the trigger warnings for the show. And don't just say trigger warning. Say explicitly trigger warning suicide, sexual harassment, those type of things. Because the thing is, I see people on Twitter all the time that are like trigger warning and they just leave it at that. However, trigger warning could mean like gore. I can handle gore, but if trigger warning means like suicide, like I have seen that explicitly on TikTok, explicit suicide talk, and they just put trigger warning and don't say explicitly what it is, like that is not good. You can really cause people to relapse and cause people to get triggered. So yes, I felt the need to talk about this anime because I liked it, first of all, and because it is so triggering and I'm not seeing enough people talk about how triggering it is. I sort of want to cosplay one of the characters, but I'm not really sure because there's only 13 episodes, so I'm sort of like, I want a season 2 before I cosplay one of the characters. And there better freaking be a season 2. I'm gonna be so disappointed if there's not a season 2 because there's so many things I need answered. I have so many questions and I really just want a season 2 like right now. I need these answers. I need more of these characters. Please give us a season 2. So anyways, those were my rambling thoughts on Wonder Egg Priority. If you want to watch this anime, it is available on Funimation. I'm currently watching Euphoria. I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense, I think is what it's called. It's a really long title. It's a very cute anime. It's definitely a much like different vibe than Wonder Egg Priority. It's way less depressing. It is like a fun and happy version of Sword Art Online without the like stressful and dark elements of Sword Art Online. So that's really all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. I've talked about anime a couple other times on my channel. I'll try and add those all in a playlist and link it down in the description below so that you can watch those videos if you're interested. If you've seen Wonder Egg Priority, feel free to leave your thoughts on the show down in the comment section below. I have seen some people who love it, some people who say it's too triggering, some people who hate it because of the final 2 or 3 episodes. Like, any criticism you have of the show, any praise you have of the show is completely valid. And I'm like torn because I want to encourage people to watch it because it's a good show, but I also don't want to encourage people to watch it because it's so triggering. I upload videos 3 times a week, so my next video will be tomorrow, and that will be a book-related video. I hope all of you are having a great start to your week, and I'll see all of you in my next video. Goodbye!